Hi everyone, this is the Mary Moo Show.
Yes, it is, and I am she, joined by a lovely co-host. And for the next hour, I'm going to be with you.
Word Isa, because you have Isa Kinecto, the word Isa there means help. It's a kind of military term. She's in there to fight the battles, help the man to fight the battles in his life. You still find the mother busy working. For example, verse 11 of the same book talks about her husband's heart trust in her. We're talking about here. There's this mutual relationship, that transcends all what we're talking about here. Those goodness upon him, never evil, all the days of her life. You discover that without the help of her husband, she cannot do most of these things.
Thanks for listening to the Mary Moo Show. Hi everyone, this is the Mary Moo Show.
Yes, it is, and I am she, joined by a lovely co-host. And for the next hour, I'm going to be with you. This is Thursday, and every Thursday I'm here and playing some great music and talking about some great topics. We're going to get straight into it, guys. But before I do, I'm going to drop the theme. I'm going to drop the theme of what we're going to be talking about today. It's the Proverbs 31 woman versus the modern woman. Let's see who comes up trumps. Let's see what's going on. We're going to look at some news articles. We're going to discuss it with a theologian. That's who's going to be my special guest, by the way. And we're really going to get into it. The Proverbs 31 woman versus the modern woman. But let's start with some great music. I first heard this track on TikTok. I didn't think I'll ever say that. On TikTok. On TikTok. Yes, TikTok. Thank you. Yes, I first heard it on TikTok, and with all the dances as well. All the great dances. This is Yeshua by DJ Bentoa. And then we're going to listen to a brand new one by Sunday. It's called Takeover, and it's featuring Reggie Datel. So we're going to get straight into that. This is Yeshua by DJ Bentoa, and we'll be right back.
Bye.
This is the Mary Moo Show.
heart is what my treasure is. My treasure is in your love. Your love redeemed all of my sins. Your grace covers me, Lord. My heart is what my treasure is. My treasure is in your love. Your love redeemed all of my sins. You are more than enough. Now is the time for your children to rise up. This is the time for your power to take over. I will not fear persecution, my mind is in heaven. I have died with Christ, I'm living forever, yeah. The King of glory is on his way. Have mercy on my generation, they just need a seed of faith. Welcome them into your celebration. Holy Spirit, gather your words. Holy Spirit, gather your words. My heart is what my treasure is. My treasure is in your love. Your love redeemed all of my sins. Your grace covers me, Lord. My heart is what my treasure is. My treasure is in your love. Your love redeemed all of my sins. You are more than enough.
You always know when to come around. I don't ever have to worry about what you're doing in my life. Cause you hold me together when I feel like my world is spinning, spinning. I won't make it, you know that ain't from the beginning, beginning. You gave us the victory, enemies know that we winning. We put all our confidence in you. Cause you gave up your life so that we can live. So my life is forever here.
My heart is where my treasure is. My treasure is in your love. Your love redeemed all of my sins. Your grace covers me, Lord. My heart is where my treasure is. My treasure is in your love. Your love redeemed all of my sins. You are more than enough.
Therefore God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow in heaven, on earth, and under the earth, and every tongue acknowledge that Jesus Christ is Lord, for the glory of God the Father.
Welcome back, everybody. If you're just tuning in, this is the Mary Moo Show. My name is Mary Moo, and every Thursday I'm here from 7 to 8 p.m. Really giving you a good hour of music and some great topic. And today we're talking about the Proverbs 31 woman versus the modern woman. If you don't know, there is a chapter in Proverbs starting from about sort of verse 10, which details this virtuous woman. She has no name, but I've seen this. I know I'm not the only one. I've seen this scripture being quoted at nearly every wedding. Every man says their wife to be or their wife is this woman. She's exactly the same. She has these attributes, she has these characteristics. There's so many books out, so many topics. You put it in YouTube and so much comes out. Everybody wants to be like her or just wants to learn from this wonderful woman. And there's so much to unpack in all of this. So I thought, I don't want to do it myself. I really want to go through it with a theologian who's going to give us like what this verse really means, and then we can, well, you can make up your mind and decide, actually this modern woman that's been sort of pushed, there's an agenda for this modern woman, which I believe is just obviously springboarded from this feminist movement and really kind of gone, in my opinion, gone a bit crazy, you know, telling women that, you know, you're better than man and you can do what you want to do and have your own way. You don't have to have children if you don't want to. Not that you that's true, but it's the way, it's the attitude, it's the, you don't need a man, do it by yourself. In fact, you don't even need man, just go and you know, there's other ways to have children. You don't do what you want, and no, you demand this and you demand that, and your worth is that. And yes, there's a time and place to sort of support women, and especially, and there's a lot of issues that we face as women sometimes, trying to get pay and things like that. We understand those issues, but there was a real big drive. And I've looked at actual data, actual news articles that have come up from some notable sources, looking at data when this all happened, what kicked it all off. Is it right or is it wrong? But I found something so strange, which I'll kind of allude to before we go straight into the music, is that COVID did a lot of things. The pandemic did a lot of things. Some research, guys, has been conducted. And I'm just quoting what I've heard. People are really saying, look, hang on a minute. This whole girl boss, you know, I'm a boss, I'm equal to a man, I'm better than a man situation. I don't think I want to be it. Don't think I want to do it anymore. And what kind of sort of sparked all this was the pandemic. Everyone being at home and having to be domesticated and realizing, hang on a minute, there's two extremes here. There's the extreme that I stay at home and just do nothing, but there's a extreme that we go out there and try and, you know, take on a male role. But, you know, somewhere in the middle, like, this is where I want to be. And I find somewhere in the middle this Proverbs 31 woman lies. So we're going to talk about that and have a discussion all about that. But let's get into some music, and then we'll come back and we'll get to the meat of why we're all here. So let's listen to some great tracks. It's a lovely one that I would like us to listen to, actually. And this one is Better Man by Triple O. I had him on the show before. Great artist. And then we'll go into Natalie Loren with Something, and then we'll go straight into the interview. Okay, so this is Better Man by Triple O. I'll see you on the other side.
Rewind the time, I'm dialing to speak to a younger me that's hurting, residing in darker spaces, affecting my now as I speak. The decisions he made, reason I'm here now today. Look at tomorrow, promising not to make the same mistake in a way that causes me to look back as I'm doing in this moment. That's the cycle that I need to break. Time is holding me by the neck, but we learn by dissecting failures we made before. Now looking forward, I see the pain I caused. Take some time to rebuild with the man who brought you into this world. Your poor relationship will cost you in your years to come. He dearly loves his son and only wants to be friends with the only one that will carry on with the family name. Don't push them away, close friends. Try to meet some more men. Women all around you is the reason why you struggle with sexual feelings and dealing with lust as a demon, demanding your semen, so semen and reach for accountability. But what is bittersweet, you're not a bad guy. No ill intentions, we know that you wouldn't hurt a fly. But hurt people. Your brokenness is the root to your selfish perception and how the world is framed. That's when trouble came, now I'm left with the shame. Heavy regret, I forget things are no longer the same. So take a look in the mirror, start reflecting the change. As I look back to the future with my present explains. I just wanna be a better man, till it's better man. Travelers got to life, I need a better plan. Circumstances, second chances. Life got me some cost, but I really need me a better hand. I just wanna be a better man, till it's better man. Travelers got to life, I need a better plan. Circumstances, second chances. Life got me some cost, but I really need me a better hand. My brother from another mother, he bought his first home. Baby number 2 helped him to move, living next to an old flame that got doused. She had doubts, amazing grace, but thankful for the faith I pronounce. We're still friends though, at least I hope so. I've been told to mature and simply let it go. Heartbreak essential to life when getting old. Feeling guilty when dating, do I deserve a blessing? Unravel my fears to then apply the dressing. Check the selection, not just picking for you alone. A stepmother to my heart who was able to love a heart of stone and a soul. 2020 the year, but perfecting the vision. No to self, make smarter decisions. Be happy for your bro and trust your time will come. How about you learn to walk before you start to run? I just wanna be a better man, till it's better man. Travelers got to life, I need a better plan. Circumstances, second chances. Life got me some cost, but I really need me a better hand. I just wanna be a better man, till it's better man. Travelers got to life, I need a better plan. Circumstances, second chances. Life got me some cost, but I really need me a better hand.
for the shade. Tell the kids, call their daddy, tell them pick them up. You need a break. Your head's been underwater, darling. Don't let them steal away. Do something real nice for yourself. You deserve it, babe. I'll take a little tea, mix it with some honey. And don't you worry about the money. Darling, keep working hard, cause it's coming. You know the good Lord, stay up to something. He's up to something, something. He's up to something, something. I know he's up to something, something. He's up to something, something. Throw a little something on the stove. Baby, say a little prayer, let it go. Oh, take a little back, get the water running. You know the good Lord, stay up to something. He's up to something, something. He's up to something, something. I know he's up to something, something. He's up to something, something. Now don't let this whole world get you down, down, baby. Don't let this cruel old world make you lose your faith. Now don't let this cold world get you down, down, baby. But I left something in your cup that'll pick you up later. I'll take a little tea, mix it with some honey. Don't you worry about the money. Darling, keep working hard, cause it's coming. You know the good Lord, stay up to something. He's up to something, something. Something, something, yeah. He's up to something, something. Something, something.
Good evening, everybody. We are now at the time of the interview that I'm really, really looking forward to. We have been discussing today the modern woman. Is it really a term that's going to fade away? Are we really seeing a move from the girl bosses and into something that CNN has dubbed a trad wife, which is a now subculture, almost like a happy medium between the sort of fundamentalist traditional wife and the girl boss, somewhere loosely in the middle. But they have said, and I quote from CNN, that it is fundamentally based on Christian values. And as usual, to help me kind of sort of dissect the Proverbs 31 woman, who most people like to quote at wedding days. I hear a lot of, when you watch a lot of wedding videos, a lot of men are saying, my wife is a Proverbs 31 woman, and everyone strives to be her. There are songs about this woman. But to have somebody who actually studied to help us break this character down, I have Dr. Yaya Obozwa with me on the show. Dr. Yaya Obozwa, how are you?
I'm fine, and how are you, Mary?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. And we have somebody else. We have here my sister, actually. Ruth, how are you today?
I'm well, thank you.
Great stuff. And together we're going to be talking the modern woman versus the Proverbs 31 women. Okay, so let me start. So I'll go back again quickly what I was saying. So I've read a couple of articles. The Guardian have written articles to say that they believe, this was last year in March, that there is a possible decline of the girl boss. Okay, and obviously the girl boss, for those who don't know, who is essentially the modern woman, the woman that sort of refuses to be equal to men, decides that she can have her own career. In fact, she doesn't maybe want to be at home. In fact, even if she does want to be at home, she doesn't want to do the things that we would normally associate with traditional values. If she wants to have children, she has them on her own time, on her own terms, and doesn't actually need a man. She doesn't need to, because she's not equal to a man. She has her own lane. A lot of it's been perpetuated by a feminist movement that has kind of seems to have gone AWOL, and determines her own success by, they're calling it almost like quite masculine, a masculine business world, where she exhibits all these characters that make her a boss. Okay, so you would have noticed a lot across social media, a lot of hashtag girl boss, hashtag girl doing things, modern woman. and all this kind of thing. But CNN also published an article that said, hang on a minute, post the pandemic, a lot of women are, from a study that's been done, a lot of women are beginning to wonder that, hold on a minute, this whole girl boss thing, I don't know if I really want to do that. This modern day feminism, they're saying, they're sneering at it. And they say, actually, we do want and like some of the values of this traditional woman. They're calling it trad wives, a fringe culture. And this is where women are saying, we like bits of the traditional women. We like to submit to our husbands. We like to do that because we understand probably, I guess, what that word means. Yes, we want to work. Yes, we want to do things. Almost like take us back to the 1950s. I like the 1950s aesthetic of how a man was, but with a modern day twist, they're calling it. So let's start with a couple of questions to you, Dr. Yaya. So now people are, there's a movement that's saying maybe this whole modern woman thing might not be good after all. What are your thoughts on that?
Mary, it's not the first time we'll see this happen. I'll draw your attention to a book written by Bruce Winter, Roman Wives, Roman Widows, the appearance of new women and the Pauline communities. Even in the days of Apostle Paul, this idea of a new woman was also something which he had to deal with. And you see that in 1 Corinthians 11. If you read 1 Corinthians 11 in that context, where it was actually affecting people, well, women who attended church. So he was actually addressing this new thing. Again, social engineering is not anything new. Augustine did that. But then after Augustine, a number of things came up. And if you read Titus, same thing. Paul dealt with this idea of the new woman. So this newness, it's not anything new. It's we just need to go back into history to find out more about how women have sometimes taken things to a different level or decide to live in a particular way. But it's not new.
Yes, and actually, I was just looking at another article that said that what the subtitle was, their ideas aren't particularly new. Exactly what you just said, Dr. Yaya, that actually, if you look back in anti-feminist movements and different things that you've mentioned, even scripturally, that actually it's not new. It's just the pandemic has forced people to rethink things again. Okay, so I think the main thing that we really want to know is about this Proverbs 31 woman. But before we do, can we just establish in the beginning, when God obviously made man and woman, there's a lot of questions around this. A lot of people think that, you know, God wanted everyone to be high, one person to be higher than the other, one gender higher than the other, and things like that. Can you briefly explain, from a theoretical point of view, what God was saying and what that's all about?
Okay, I'll just run through creation. When God said he wanted to create man, he did, and clearly specified what he wanted. Now, we come to verse 28, and right there, he gave them dominion and also gave them, asked them to subdue. Now, he didn't say, you, the man, subdue, and you, the woman, don't subdue. But he said, you subdue, actually, in 50, I think was Miles Coverdale that introduced it into the English Bible. But it technically means to pull resources together for your own good. So it's like, it means cultivating the earth, if you read it. So both of them were empowered to do just that. So then you come to chapter 2, verse 18, where it's clearly stated that God said that woman should come in. And if you read it, read that text in the Hebrew, and then you try to understand it, you would see that the woman has a role to play in the life of that man. Because the word Isa, because you have Isa Kinecto, the word Isa there means help. It's a kind of military term. Right. Now, so she's in there to fight the battles, help the man to fight the battles in his life. Yeah. So, and then you come down to just go down that chapter, you find that God said the man should leave his father and mother. By the way, when he says the man, the biblical man is not the kind of, you need to be able to look at the biblical man, because when he says the man should leave his father and mother, the question is, who is the man? So I normally ask people to go back and say, okay, fine, to look at the word man and find out the biblical man who will leave his father and mother, meaning that he was discipled by his parents, and then goes on to say that he leaves, azav in the Hebrew. It doesn't mean you break relationship, but it means you leave one kind of entity in order to form another entity. Now, watch how he presents it. He presents it: one, leave, then cleave, and then become a heart, one. So it's not like you leave and you go and beat the other one until she's broken completely. Yeah. There's that oneness. And the way I say it is that God is going to demand, actually God is demanding a human response to what we find in the Bible. Even our Lord Jesus Christ also drew attention to that same chapter 2, that in the beginning it was not so. So that oneness is still what God wants. So if we're one, we're not competing. We're not, superiority is not the main thing. It transcends all these things. So God is looking for unity between a husband and his wife. Now, that's Genesis. Now, and Genesis 1 and 2, we generally say that's the ideal, or the two chapters, it just gives us the ideal. Yeah. And then you come to you go to Proverbs that you're interested in. Before we go actually to Proverbs 31, there's something that should not be missed. If you read chapter 1, it's like laying a foundation for what will come after the chapter 1, because that's how the wise man speaks. The wise man is a person who has got what you call wisdom, and that's chokhmah. And a person who has chokhmah is called a chacham. And if a chacham speaks, you need to find out from the chacham what he has not said. And if he says something, he's laying a foundation and preparing you for what will follow. Now, in chapter 1, you read verse 8, it talks about father and mother. The father is there to help the child, to give the child what we call Musa. And Musa is discipline. It's sometimes very tough on the child. But then the mother is there to talk, to teach the child. And he says the Torah of your mother. So, and then verse 9 then gives you a promise that if you go through this, you know what the athletes gets. They get a medallion, and then someone who's done well gets a crown. So verse 9 tells you that you will reign. Now, I'm just laying the foundation for chapter 31. So understanding the chapter 1 helps you to understand chapter 31. Now, if you approach 31, the first few verses appear to be saying, I told you in chapter 1 that if you, as a son, you listen to the instruction or the teachings of your mother, and then your father uses his discipline to shaping you. By the way, any discipline that does not lead to discipleship, we're told, is no discipline. So the discipline is there, and then the teaching is there. No, it now says, we have come to the end of the chapter. Hooray, here I am. I'm now a king. And then you see who's next is the mother talking. So I have titled it A Royal Dedication to a Wise Mother.
A royal dedication to a wise mother. The whole it's almost like a whole chapter. It's a royal dedication, because that's how it starts in chapter 31, verse 1, and then builds everything around mother, and then tells you about the effect Kayil. So, and that's that people generally talk about, when, like you said, in marriages and so on, or during weddings, they talk about, this virtuous woman and so on. But I hope that's helped for now. That's really, really helped for now. And I think, we're very excited to kind of now go through this woman that everyone really looks up to, that she's got no name. She almost needs to remain nameless, but she just is so iconic, and we really want to get into who she's like, because there is, like I mentioned, there's some extremes where some men don't believe women should work at all. You should just sit at home and sometimes just be childbearing and not do anything because they want to do it all. And some women, although some of them seem happy to it, some of them have admitted that actually, they were born with a lot of gifts and talents, and how do you juggle that? How are you to do it? But somehow this Proverbs 31 woman was able to do it all. So I would like us to kind of talk about it again. Let's maybe starting with this, with her character, who she was like. There's so many things. I remember when you sent out a sort of write up about this woman, how she takes care of not just her children, her family. She takes care of the servants and the people that are there. So, picking out a couple of things, did this woman work? My question: did the Proverbs 31 woman, did she go to work?
Yes. If you look at this woman, as she goes through, there's no need to rush. Just go through from verse 1, lays a foundation, and then you now go down, and you find more about this woman. She was industrious.
Yes.
She was very, very busy. But if we start with the first few verses of this chapter, it kind of gives you a break and then starts again. Now, this is a mother dealing with the evil inclination in high places. Now, even when a mother is old and the son has gone to become a very highly placed person, it's work, because she is still busy. And that's why you see, I don't understand the idea of going on holiday. But because if you understand the beginning of this chapter, you see a mother who is close to the king. And it says there, it is not befitting for kings to belong, who belong to God. It is not befitting for kings to drink much wine, and for princes to imbibe strong wine. That's work. You're still busy doing some work on your child. So the evil inclination, which hopefully was dealt with by dad and mom when he was a young boy. Now, when he is become a king, you still find the mother busy working. This time, trying to shape this. Say, look, when you are now a king at this level, there's much work to be done. You need to deal with this evil inclination. So that's work. It's not just going to a place of work and so on. That's not the only thing. Even you doing God's work, even when your child has become very successful, that's still work. So it depends on how some people say it, but that's work. And then you go on to see this woman who would wake up and deal, even take care of things, servants, knows when winter is coming, it's cold, and she's busy thinking about what the husband will wear, what children will wear. And you just see this picture of this woman very, very busy. And she's always thinking, the weather is changing. What should I do? Now we have to provide for the family, to protect the family, food and all that. So you see a woman who is, you find that she's this very industrious woman, busy working and making sure that everything is okay in the family. So, and that's this kind of woman.
I really like it, and I like that how it describes her. For example, it talks about how she considers the field and buys it, and it speaks to me a lot about her character and what she's able to do, even from the house. She's able to really make these strategic decisions for the family, for the household. And like you talked about about how she makes sure everyone's clothed, how she makes the clothing and things like that. She just seems to be somebody who, how do I put it? Is very strategic and considers things, and is about her trading is profitable. I like that she sees that her trading is profitable. So I like that about her. I like also that her husband is respected where he goes out, where he's at, and it seems to follow through. I like that she clothed them in fine linen and purple, which speaks a lot about what the quality of what she was making. Because remember, I don't know if we want to talk about the quality of the sheets and the thing. It's just not surely she really takes her time making these linen garments and I just like her character. And if you talk about it talks about here about how she can laugh. She's clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, as you just thought, and faithful instruction is on her tongue.
She's the whole thing is about Hachama is the feminine here. For example, verse 11 of the same book talks about her husband's had trust in her.
Yeah.
And he shall lack no fortune. Now, one observation here is that the word here, first Hebrew word here is patak, not emunah. There are two different words here. You may have what you call faith. Emunah is generally translated as faith, and patak is trust. A person who has trust has emunah or faith.
Yes.
But a person who has faith, emunah, may not have trust. But to say that the husband trusts in her is that's, just taking it to, just tells you the kind of woman we're talking about here. And then it also goes on to say that he shall lack no fortune. So it's even the word husband there. It's one of the Hebrew words used. It talks about Bala, bear from someone who owns somebody, a master, her master. Yeah, not this kind of equality we're talking about here. There's this mutual relationship, that transcends all what we're talking about here, and you can see you described here, or the husband described here as a master. Well, that's technical term for husband, but some people would probably say, "Oh, that means that the husband owns her, her owner, But that didn't stop her from just behaving as a wife in the home, which is quite. This, like I've said, this sounds strange in the 21st century. And it's not anything for a woman who wants to be the Shed Kayil. By the way, we're told that it's only one woman that was described as a Shed Kayil, as a virtuous woman, and that was Ruth. That's something which there's no other. So, but that just gives you an idea of what it means to be a virtuous woman. Yes, I think there are quite a lot of things that she did. A virtuous woman always does good to her husband. She bestows goodness upon him. That's what it says in verse 12. Never evil all the days of her life. She bestows goodness upon him. Never evil all the days of her life. Our Lord Jesus Christ, in Acts 10:38, went about doing good. So a Christian who is Christ-like should not find it difficult to do good every day. And so it's just, you just go to Acts 10:38 and just see Proverbs 31:12 or rather, you see Proverbs 21:12 in Acts 10:38. So every Christian woman should be Christ-like. So it's not a problem to read this and apply it to one's life. She bestows goodness upon him, never evil, all the days of her life.
And one thing I love about this, the relationships this woman had with her husband is, like some people think that, oh, she's gone and doing all these kind of things, but obviously he's explained that the term that the husband used what he suggests that he was something, he was of noble sort of status as well. So it's not like he wasn't doing anything, just sitting around in the house. But I love how he speaks of her. And you can tell that he loves her, that they have a loving relationship, because he ends by saying, he tells her, he praises her. It's not even, he says her children arise and call her children bless her, and her husband also. And he prays, so her husband blesses her, and her husband praises her. And he says, many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. And he goes, the charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but the woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. So it talks about even her relationship with God, that she has one with Yahweh, and he loves that for her. And he honors her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise in the city gate. I think it's nice to show balance of what you said, this mutual respect they have for each other. And funny enough, I was reading the book on the Happy Wives Club, and they talked about, I've mentioned this before, talked about the things that from a survey of like 1 million women, what are the things that like sort of create a great relationship? And one of the top 3 was this mutual respect, and having the husband praise, not beat, like you said, and not look down on them, but husband can praise this woman and say, look, you have something that's even better than even beauty. So Ruth, do you have any questions to ask?
Well, I think I've just been overcome with learning once again and taking notes for myself. I think for me, as a relatively young wife, myself, been married for 9 years, going on 10. Sometimes you look at Proverbs 31 and you think, how can I do this, or how can I be this woman? And I think in many women conventions and premarital advice for women and things like that, they do quote Proverbs 31, but in a way that might not be attainable. You think, oh yes, I'm going to be this, but they don't give you the strategy in how to become this Proverbs 31 woman, and it's more work than it being a natural part of your character. So you're almost working to be this woman rather than the qualities she has, it already being part of you. I think what you mentioned in the beginning about Hokmah, if I've said it correctly, wisdom. And I think, do we actually ask for wisdom to the extent that when you're speaking wise, the decision you're making by land comes from wisdom for it to even have, for your endeavors to even be profitable. So wisdom is laced through the whole Proverbs 31, and it kind of makes me think to myself, how much do I ask wisdom? And we know the Bible says if you ask, it's freely given. So we could avoid certain decisions. We could avoid, we could avoid a lot of things if we just had wisdom, and wisdom will always bear good fruit. So I think for me, trying to marry the Proverbs 31 woman to the modern woman, my question to myself is, how much do I ask for wisdom so that I myself know I'm wise? And from wisdom and me being a wise woman, some of these natural traits will just flow from it, like being good, you know? So is there anything that we could say or you could suggest will be something that we can do to embark on being this Proverbs 31 woman, not trying to make it like a tick box sheet, but something that will become so natural part of us that God will look at us and say, actually, yes, we do emulate Proverbs 31. What do you suggest?
Well, suggestions, please, Dr. Yaya.
Well, my suggestion would be one, it's without when you read through from verse 10, which actually focuses more on the Eshet Kayil, you discover that without the help of her husband, she cannot do most of these things.
Wow.
So I studied the book and I went through this chapter. I discovered that it is possible for a husband to tell his wife, okay, you're wasting money. Or say to his wife, she's wasting money because she's planning for winter. You need to wear this, you need to wear that. And I actually saw my wife as I went through this chapter. Initially, I felt this Eshet Kayil, this state of being a Eshet Kayil is not something that can be achieved today. But as I walked through the chapter, this chapter, I said, "Oh, my wife does this. My wife does this. My wife does this." Then at that point, I said, "Oh, now I call her my Eshet Kayil." Now, a husband needs to sit down and go through the chapter himself. It's not just reading, but sitting to study this chapter and be very self-critical, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
Where you've made mistakes, own up. And where wife has been hindered from being the Eshet Kayil, the man should say yes, he stopped her from being Eshet Kayil because he doesn't understand what it means to be one. So, but the moment you see this picture of this woman, you begin to see that the man or the husband has a major role to play. He has to allow her to flourish. Yes. But at the same time, the wife needs to seek wisdom. You see, the husband of this woman, we're presented with a wise husband. And then he understands what it means to be wise. He understands chokhmah.
Yeah.
Now, the wife we see here is also, this woman is also a woman that also has chokhmah or wisdom. And it's a wise man and a wise woman living together. And so that's what you see here. So it's not a woman who sees what it means to be a wise woman. She wants to be a Eshet Kayil, and does not carry her husband along. It's not impossible that things may not work well because the husband doesn't understand why she's doing some things. Like those days they had maids, but this wise woman made life very easy for her mates. She cared for everyone in the family, So today, if family decide to have house help, they may make life difficult for this house help. She's an employee, but if she's treated as if she's an employee, it's possible that she may probably just leave that family, live with very bad experiences. But we don't see that happening here in this chapter. So for anyone who wants to be, the first thing would be, yes, read this chapter, but I strongly suggest that you start from chapter 1, verse 1, because every verse is important. You see the role of the husband, the role of children, the role of wife, the role of a woman, everything in this book. And so when you come to chapter 31, there's things he does not say because he's already said them in the earlier chapters. But then things help, because chapter 14 right there tells you that a wife needs to go and get wisdom for marriage. I've discovered that when I was doing my devotion on that chapter, that a woman before marriage should spend time, pray to God to say, give me wisdom as I go into marriage. Now, if she doesn't ask for it, she'll go into marriage, make mistakes. Guess who is going to blame her? The husband, or the impatient husband will blame her. Oh yeah, you've made this mistake. And sometimes the mistakes are very expensive. But 7 days to pray, to seek God's face for wisdom, for marriage, can do a lot of good things for marriage once she goes in. Even the husband needs to, the bride needs to pray, the groom needs to pray for wisdom, because we need wisdom in marriage. So what you see in chapter 31, if you don't talk about the foundational things, then you don't deal with those foundational issues, then you come to 31, you want 31 to happen. From my understanding of the book, I think you would have a big problem or challenge in your hands. So first thing, start from chapter 1, verse 1, and work your way through. Then when you get to 31, you now understand what he's saying. You can now see what it means to be a virtuous woman. Yes.
Thank you so much for that. I really like that. And I love that you talked about actually the husband letting the wife flourish. And this is also something that women who do find themselves successful in the careers and things like that, and some of them might be concerned about finding a spouse that will let them flourish and not be threatened. A good husband will allow you to flourish and will really be your champion and not be threatened by their success, because to do all these things, and this lady using the profits from her land to plant a vineyard and do all these great, amazing things, you need somebody who's going to champion all of that alongside you and not be threatened. And some of us have tales of situations where people have been threatened by who you are. But I like that you mentioned that a good husband will see what's inside of you besides the beauty and push and encourage and flourish. And I think that guy's a keeper if they can do that. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Yaya. We've reached the end of the briefing, but I do believe we're going to have a part 2, because I would like to bring on other women who have been married so we can actually discuss this in more detail. But I like what you've said. Till then, let's all start with Proverbs chapter 1, verse 1, before we land on that. And we're actually going to allude to something that's coming that you're working on, Dr. Yaya. This whole Proverbs thing is really something you've been really studying, and you're hoping to, if I'm correct, launch a YouTube series with just your own brief breakdown and details on the different chapters within the book. Am I correct?
That's correct. I've worked my way through the book itself. It's taken me more than 4 years now, and gone back again, having gained more understanding about the book itself and how Solomon, or the wise man, spoke, and things he didn't say, all locked in this wonderful book, and see, the whole idea is to see how it can help us as Christians to become better Christians. For example, I used Acts 10:38. That's Christ went about doing good. So that's the virtuous woman, for example, should be doing good. So it shouldn't be a problem for us who are Christians, because the theology we find in the New Testament it's there, but God demands a human response to that theology. Yeah. So if our Lord Jesus Christ went about doing good, so a man should also be able to go about doing good, and a woman should also be able to go about doing good. So you can see the connections straight away. So, and there are more in this book. So yes, it's true. We'll be walking through possibly verse by verse for us to be able to gain a better understanding of this book and see how it can help us to become better Christians.
Great stuff. And we'll share details of that as soon as we get that. Thank you very much for your time. We really, really appreciate it. I'm really excited for this.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you really enjoyed that conversation. I thoroughly did. And we are going to do a part 2, because I really want to bring in other voices to kind of discuss and debate this, actually. And really think about what the news is saying, what's happening at the moment now. Girl bosses is just like no more. Everyone's kind of, backing up from this. And there was just so many wonderful attributes of this woman and her marriage, actually. And some wonderful things that I took away from that conversation. And I hope you did too. So, I think it's only right to end things with one of the first songs I heard about this Proverbs 31 woman. And I played this song, I think, some other time before, actually. But this is a remix. It's the remix. It's just Dwayne Triumph's remix of Proverbs 31. And it's featuring a guy called Gavin Holligan. This is Proverbs 31 by Dwayne Triumph. And I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Proverbs 18:22. He that findeth a wife findeth a good thing,
he that findeth a wife
and obtains favor with the Lord.
Findeth a good thing.
Amen. You look better than a Coca-Cola bottle type model alone, and you know how to juggle a home. Let your husband be known in the chief place at the city gates and support the decisions he makes. I ain't saying that you never speak your mind. Sometimes you could put me back in check if I step out of line. That's fine, I do for you, you do for me like that. Help yourself, feel free like that, cause we like that. I love it when you put your hair all up in one, roll your sleeves up and put your jeans on to get the job done. You make me say, look at what God done. He took the rib from my side and made it into my bride. We can slip away into paradise in the night. Even if it's raining outside, you say that's alright. Passionate range of playing a serenade of love on the window pane. We pray this will never change.
Find it the good thing and obtains favor. He that findeth the wife, findeth the good thing and obtains favor.
We've been a long time in the making, staying out of temptation and not falling into fornication. We've been waiting, fasting and praying, seeking God's face, and now we put us in the right places. So amazing the way you gave me an upgrade and got me running to the barber to get a fade. So pack your bags, let's run away. Your pretty face is sweeter than Kool-Aid on a summer day, subtle like a snowflake on a cold lake. I'ma hold you close, I know you're my soulmate. Many women done well, you excel them all. When it comes to other women, goodbye, I tell them all. You're my only one, I let you know it's true. When other girls come around, I'm all over you. Cover your eyes, I got a surprise. I put a ring on your finger and made you my wife for life.
Find it the good thing and obtains favor. He that findeth the wife, findeth the good thing and obtains favor. I am blessed, I am blessed. I found a good thing, I found a good thing. I am blessed, I am blessed. I found a good thing, I found a good thing, yeah.
I love it when you put your hair all up in one, roll your sleeves up and put your jeans on to get the job done. You make me say, look at what God done. He took the rib from my side and made it into my bride. We can slip away into paradise in the night. Even if it's raining outside, you say that's alright. Passionate range of playing a serenade of love on the window pane. We pray this will never change.
I am blessed, I found a good thing, I found a good thing. I am blessed, I am blessed. I found a good thing, I found a good thing. He that findeth the wife, findeth the good thing and obtains favor. He that findeth the wife, findeth the good thing and obtains favor. He that findeth the wife, findeth the good thing and obtains favor. He that findeth the wife, findeth the good thing and obtains favor.
Thanks for listening to the Mary Moo Show.